Trump. Whether you hate him, or in this case, worship him, he has been the most talked about person in all of 2025 so far. I know you guys have been seeing those news articles and TikToks, okay? It's been insane. Not only is Trump severing his alliances, but he's starting to sever relationships all across America and perhaps even the globe. I have learned a whole lot about Trump fanboys and how radicalized they can really be from this one Reddit post. So let's get into it and let's learn more about this story. Am I overreacting because my boyfriend prayed to Trump at my family's dinner? Well, we are starting it off strong, and not gonna lie, I kind of want to say yes off the bat, but let's see what happens. This is the first time he's ever done this, so I don't get why it had to be in front of me or my family. We disagree on some things politically, but he never liked Trump either. Am I overreacting in our text or in reevaluating our relationship? Okay, let's take a look at the texts. OP starts it off with, "Hey, are you home yet? Can we talk?" He responds, "What?" OP says, "I'm still kind of off-put by the prayer. Was that a joke?" Deadass couldn't tell. And then her boyfriend goes, "What's funny about it?" OP responds with, "It was a prayer to freaking Donald Trump. Like, why?" Crying face emoji. And then he goes, "What do you mean?" And then she responds back, "My parents were confused as hell." Isn't that like false idol or blasphemous, if anything? And then the boyfriend goes, "If he's ordained by God himself, I don't see the issue. He literally saved him." First of all, Trump was ordained by God. I missed this big piece of his lore because I swear I have not seen anyone said that. The fact that people actually think this unprompted, it's insane. So then OP responds and goes, "But why are we doing this now?" And he says, "You brought this up." And then she goes, "No, I mean, why did we start the prayer thing literally today?" And he responds, "I didn't. I thought we talked about this." And OP was like, "What? We haven't talked about this at all. You had to have known I'd think it's weird." And then he responds, "I said he was saved by God during the assassination, that it was proof. He was chosen, so I speak to him. I don't see what the issue is with this." And then OP responds, "You know we disagree politically, so why would you pray to the man in front of my whole family and I? This just seems really out of character. Can I call you instead?" Her boyfriend says, "Why are you making this a big deal? Everyone can be wrong on stuff. I don't judge you or your family." And then OP responds, "It's not about who's wrong or right. Praying to Trump is just straight up insane." And then he says, "You're being childish." To which she responds, "Bro," skull face emoji, "straight up answer my call. How are you real?" And then he ends it off by saying, "I'll call you after work." That was pretty insane. I guess there are people out there that think Trump is literally the second coming of Jesus or some kind of like ordained godly prophet or something, which this is so shocking to me, guys. I don't even know what to say. I've heard a lot of different things from Trump super fans on TikTok and whatnot, like I have seen it, but this is probably one of the craziest things. Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, Trump is like gonna be a good president, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like it is a whole nother level to be like, Trump is ordained by God. Where did that even come from? Like, you're just making it up at this point. Like how can you translate him getting shot and surviving to him being ordained by God? The math is not mathing here. But let's go over the comments. Comment number 1 says, "Okay, stranger, dear friend, what I just read was absolutely diabolical. What the hell does he mean he was chosen, so I speak to him? Girl, you need to freaking run because this is actually psychotic. I don't care who you worship or if you do it all, but Trump? This is worse than celebrity worship, and I am genuinely flabbergasted by his messages. Leave him." And then the responses under that, someone says, "This guy is an insult to psychotic people." And then one of the comments says, "I was almost hit by a car when running. God saved me. I must have been sent by God. I should run for president." And then someone commented on that and said, "What's your name? I need to know who to properly pray to." I guess we're all ordained. And then another commenter says, "If you're staying with him, you're signing on for this." And someone responded, "Your political views can be wrong, but I respect you and your family anyway." Is absolutely insane. And praying to Trump, not praying to God for Trump, oh, I'd be out. that's a cult. Yeah, I feel like OP has already acknowledged that they don't have the same political views. And to her, that's not a deal breaker, which is like fine. I think everyone's entitled to having their own standards for their relationship. If that's something that she feels like genuinely won't get in the way of their relationship, then fine, go for it. But I feel like idolizing a person as a god kind of might be too far for a lot of people. And it sounds like it might be a little bit too much for OP too, because this is kind of crazy. And then this one commenter also said, this cannot be real. It has to be satire. And then someone commented under that and said, I wanted to believe it was years ago when my mother told me he was sent by God to save the United States. Turns out her Catholic priest distributed some literature regarding it. It has gotten worse over the years. She views him as infallible. It's unsettling to visit my small Midwestern hometown because the entire place feels like a cult. And just adding, yes, I was raised Catholic. Yes, the diocese was involved. The bishop shook my hand when I was confirmed. The town does have a new priest, which is good since they only had one Catholic church, and that priest services 3 churches in the area. However, the damage Father Basil did is done. My goal is to get the literature if she still has it and contact the Diocese of Bismarck. Friends of hers also seem affected. Most people in the town do, regardless of denomination. Regardless, that church has been influencing my mother's voting choices all my life. They tell you who does and who doesn't support abortion, and that's who you should pick, which is how I assume they get around it. That particular priest was also anti-vax. He was sure it was vaccines that killed a few monks that he knew from an abbey he had been at. This was verbatim from his mouth in my parents' kitchen. Stopped when a grandparent died. He continually unsettled me, and I viewed him as a heretic myself. And then there's also another comment that adds on to this and says, after the 2016 election, I asked my grandmother why she voted for Trump, and she genuinely told me that God had sent Trump to protect our country from evil outside forces, and went on to list various other nations. When Biden was elected in 2020, she freaked out and told me that God wouldn't have let Biden win unless the end times really were nigh. Told me I wasn't going to live to make it to 30 because the world would literally end before then. Now that Trump is due back to be in office, she's extended our end times deadline for another 20 years. Damn, your own grandma saying you're not gonna live past 30 because Biden was voted in is insane. And I think this next comment sums it up pretty well, which is, the best time to break up is today. The second best time is tomorrow. And I think there's actually a comment that OP made in response to another comment, and that commenter asked, what did he pray? And apparently he prayed along the lines of, protect America's freedom, shield the children, purify the government, boost our economy, corny as hell. Oh, I'm learning so many things today, and I do not have the words. The words, okay, the words. And it's kind of sad how politics really radicalizes people. And not only does it radicalize people within politics, you know, whether you have the polar left or the polar right, but the fact that this is bleeding on to other things such as religion and radicalizing people within religion. I think we all know how crazy it is to be radicalized religiously because it really changes you as a person most of the time for the worst. And we've seen that with all different types of religions. So this is just crazy to me and very concerning. And honestly, for me, I would deeply consider breaking up just because this is just a whole nother level of radicalization that I feel like it already bled from political radicalization into religious radicalization. And so in the future, for OP's boyfriend, where else will that bleed into? How we raise our children or how we treat people who don't have the same belief system as us? Like, this is already bleeding from one thing to another. So it's not hard for me to imagine that once they have kids and that kid doesn't believe in what he believes in or is against it, like just the turmoil that would create within the family. So, I mean, for everyone, it's different. Maybe for some people, they're okay with this and they can live with this, which is fine. It's your life. But this is just concerning on a whole nother level. So for OP, if she wants to avoid this, especially if it's gonna start getting worse and worse, I would 100% support that. But she did make an update comment for the next day, so let's take a look at that. I have no clue how to update a post, but update. Relationship over. I'm embarrassed from this ordeal, so I just spontaneously did it. It was less than a year ago, so I'll get over it, but damn. Thanks for the chill and nice comments providing support, even though I can't read most comments. Lessons have been learned. And honestly, if you can come out of a relationship and learn important lessons, then that's part of your path and your journey. And that's some crazy shit to witness. But I'm glad OP came out of that and just used it as a life lesson for her and perhaps for all of us reading this, guys. So let's take a look at some of the comments after the whole update scenario. This person says, props to the person who said, if you stay, you are signing up for this. Spot on advice. Also, I can't believe I'm learning every day new reasons why people love Trump and how they express their love. It's insanity. It is actually almost cult-like, which is pretty insane to me. And yes, I agree. If you stay, you are signing up for this is such a good way to sum this whole situation up. It could get better. Maybe he can be unbrainwashed. But with the amount of brainwashed and radicalized he is, it probably will most likely get worse before it would even get remotely better. And I think that treating a person like Trump as a god or a prophet or a higher being just says way too much about that person, okay? It's just insanity, okay? It's one thing to vote for a politician because you align with their policies and you think that they're going to make the country better in whatever way you think it is, okay? But it's another thing to literally put them on a pedestal, bring religion into this, and treat them as some sort of god. That is concerning. So good job, OP, for leaving. And you guys thought I was done there, weren't you? But I found another Reddit post where they also broke up because of Trump. So, you know, we have to go through it together. This one starts off with, would I be the asshole for telling my boyfriend that him being a Trump supporter gives me the ick? Hi y'all, new account because I don't really want anyone connecting this with me. I started dating my boyfriend about 2-ish months ago. We've known each other for about 3 years. We weren't initially interested in dating, but it kind of just happened and things have been really well except for one thing. I found out he's a Trump supporter. Now, before you lecture me in the comments about how I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, please hear me out. It's just been a couple of things that have really rubbed me the wrong way about him for some reason. For context, I'm a Hispanic female immigrant. I fled from a country where, if I can put it in the simplest terms, went to shiz, who's had nothing but bad experiences with Trump supporters because almost every single time, without fail, they would always say or do something extremely demeaning to myself or my family. I'm talking about people like us should be deported without even realizing they're referring to us, saying that people like me are a threat to the country, slut-shaming, etc, etc. I consider myself the kind of person who judges a person's character based on what they believe in. And time again, it's been proved to me that these types of people are the type I should stay away from. On the day that Trump got convicted, we started talking politics and he told me that he's not really a felon. The courts were unfair. There was bias, and he should have had a fair trial. Not exactly verbatim, but that's pretty much the point he made when I told him that Trump was a felon now. When we were watching The Boys season 4, and that one part where an old man was explaining to Newman that women can reject pregnancies, he agreed with that old man. When I explained to him that that's not how women work, he apologized to me, but I was still absolutely surprised that he didn't even understand such a basic thing about women. He also has a sister, so it's not like he grew up without women in his life. We had a conversation about immigration, and he told me that all immigrants should be immediately deported. Damn, he has all the audacity. Anyways, I told him that myself and my family are immigrants, and if that meant he wanted us to be deported, to which he said, but you guys are legal, I'm talking about the illegal ones. I told him that this type of rhetoric makes me feel unsafe, and the conversation kind of just ended there. We were having a conversation about the Trump-Epstein relationship, and he told me that it was all a conspiracy, and that Trump isn't the type of person to do that. Damn, didn't know he knew him personally. I brought up a bunch of examples of Trump being a predator. The pussy grabber stuff, heckling a 10-year-old, the creepy comments about his daughter, the flight logs, making the point that while being guilty by association isn't a thing, the other instances of him being a predator make this seem a lot more plausible. And then he told me that Trump never did any of that. And in a way, that kind of broke the camel's back for me because I myself am a victim of sexual assault. And the nasty thought occurred to me that if I ever got assaulted, he probably wouldn't even believe me. That him standing behind someone I consider a rapist means that he condones Trump's actions and, by extension, the actions of the man who assaulted me. I don't know how he, who grew up with women and has a girlfriend, who he is fully aware of is Hispanic and an immigrant, has LGBTQ+ friends, and states that he loves people like me and his family, can even stand behind something like that. It makes me wonder if there's a side to him that he hasn't revealed to me yet because this is a new relationship, and that makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm asking if I would be the asshole for telling him that this gives me the ick because my own family is telling me that I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, that Trump wants people to fight each other, and that I shouldn't let Trump win. But I don't really know. Can I get some advice? Oh girl, that is a lot. And there have been several red flags. Okay, not one red flag, several red flags that just point to the fact that just because he says you're the exception doesn't make his beliefs any more right. I think OP is giving a lot of hints as to her intuition. Here's the thing. I feel like his morals and her morals just don't align at all. And just because he doesn't apply his morals to her and he makes sure that she knows that she's the exception doesn't make his beliefs any more right. From what she has said so far, he is condoning several actions that can literally be considered sexual assault. He literally says that all immigrants should immediately be deported. He doesn't even include illegal immigrants. It says all immigrants should immediately be deported. And then when she called that out, he was like, oh, sorry, I meant the illegal ones. But his beliefs speak for themselves, okay? And I feel like OP, in her heart of hearts, can feel that this is wrong, this won't be a fit, but is trying to use the anchor of him making her the exception as the only reason as to why she doesn't want to leave. Him saying that is him giving her the blindfolds and she is trying to keep the blindfold on. But girl, take off the blindfolds. It's just not a moral fit. And that is okay. Just because your parents say that you should give him a try and ignore the blatantly different beliefs you two hold doesn't mean you should. But it is perfectly okay for you and other people to have different boundaries in your relationship. And I think it is totally okay for us to have different boundaries in our relationship and what we constitute as a deal breaker. Obviously, there are exceptions like abuse and a whole slew of criminal stuff. That should all be deal breakers, okay? There's always exceptions to the rule, but don't let other people force their relationship boundaries onto you. Whenever it comes to evaluating your relationship, you are dooming yourself to suffering within your relationship. If you're reflecting upon your relationship based on the values that other people are pushing onto you instead of your own, you're just gonna suffer, okay? Really look deep within yourself. Ask yourself if you feel like this is right. And if by your heart of hearts, something just seems off, it is okay to end the relationship based on that. It is okay to end the relationship based on moral beliefs. Let's normalize you having different boundaries than your friends, than your parents, and sticking by those boundaries even though other people disagree, with the exception of abuse, committing crimes, and hurting other people, of course. But you guys know what I mean. Let's be reasonable here. So let's look at the relevant comments. So this person says, not the asshole. He may be speaking out of brainwashed ignorance, but even after your perspective, he tells you that you're wrong. If you stay with him, you will never stop having to educate this guy, and he doesn't really want to be educated. And then OP responded, yeah, I can agree with that. Every time I invite him to do his own research, he'll always pull up a pro-Trump article and use it as evidence that I'm wrong, or ask me multiple times where I'm getting my resources until I doubt myself. He's been asking me to promise that we wouldn't let our differences in beliefs cause problems in our relationship, and I feel like I'm being babied a bit. It's been really stressing me out. Because aside from that, he's really nice to me, and a lot of my family is excited about meeting him and his family. Breaking up with him after I just announced I was dating him would cause even more problems for me. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that it will probably be for the better. I think I'm okay with carrying through it. I'll talk to him when I see him later. I'm not really excited about it because we go to the same school. Okay, so specifically responding to her saying breaking up with him after I just announced I was dating him could cause even more problems for me. And it seems like she's saying that in the context of, I literally just announced our relationship. I can't go back now because it looks bad because I broke up with him too soon. Girl, there is no perfect time to break up with someone other than the moment you realize it's not gonna work out. Once you realize it's not gonna work out, break up with him. I don't care if it's been a day. I don't care if it's been an hour. If the relationship is not for you, if you feel like you're being babied and being talked down upon, especially this early in the relationship, that is a bad sign. Because for good, healthy relationship, you should actually feel excited to date them. You're learning more about them, they're learning more about you, and in a nice and stable relationship, that excites you, and they build you up. And if this early on, you're already feeling lesser than, girl, then just leave, okay? It's easier said than done, but that should just be the standard. It's okay to not feel someone. Okay, breaking up with someone isn't gonna kill them, okay? It's not gonna kill them, it's not gonna kill you. It's a decision that you make that will affect the rest of your life, so don't take it lightly. And always choose to surround yourself with people that will always make you feel good all the time. Do not subject yourself to feeling bad all the time just because you feel like you need to uphold a relationship, otherwise people will look down on you. So let's move on to the update. Hey y'all, update here. I didn't really expect my last post to blow up or for people to tell me that this is a justifiable reason for ending the relationship, so thank you for not being judgmental. A lot of people were asking me what country my family came from, so I'll just say it since I don't think that's identifiable information. It's Venezuela. If you don't know what's happening here, then I envy you. Also, shout out to those people who thought this was AI generated. I find it kind of sad that this has pretty much become the state of Reddit now. Like, if you think something's AI, just don't engage with it. That's what people who post AI want from you. Don't let them win. Now, onto the update. I spent the last couple of days with my dad who was visiting me and deleting social media and muting a bunch of politics related stuff because I've come to realize that regularly listening to people talk about how people like me ruin the country and how we don't belong here isn't really good for my mental health. And neither is dating someone who openly admits to supporting that group. Period! So I talked to my now ex-boyfriend. We love that. I went to his room instead of inviting him to mine because I knew that if I let him in my room, he would just refuse to leave until he was convinced that he convinced me. And I wanted to keep the power of removing myself from the situation at any time. We live in a college dorm. Firstly, I should say that I admitted to him on the day that I made my first post that him supporting a known rapist is hurtful to me because him tolerating that behavior makes me question if he's tolerant of the POS who assaulted me. And thus, I see him in a different light. And he sent me a very long text message just telling me that it hurts his feelings and that he does care about me being SA'd. I didn't really understand though, because he votes for a pussy grabber. I boiled it down to, I feel terrible that you see me as a type of person who would be okay with rape because I'm not okay with it. I acknowledge that I might have been an asshole to say that, so I started that conversation by apologizing to him and then following with me just telling him that I want to end the relationship and go back to being friends. I don't think I meant the friends part though. You can't have your cake and eat it. I can't be your friend if you affiliate yourself with a bunch of people who regularly shit on me. He tried to convince me to stay by saying that he really loved me and cared about me and respected my opinions, that we shouldn't let politics get in the way of our relationship. I responded that I can't change what he believes and that I value a person's beliefs and the group of people they associate with as a method of how I judge their character. I've already judged him. I don't like what I see and therefore I've lost my feelings for him. Definitely valid. He told me I was making a generalization. No, she wasn't. She literally Emily formatted a friggin' bibliography of all these examples where they don't match. So that is an insane statement to make. But anyways, I told him that while it is true that I might be making a generalization, we can't change the fact that in this landscape of politics, many of my rights are in the chopping block and that I am already starting to resent him for not really feeling listened to when I try to talk about how anxious it's making me. He told me that none of that stuff is gonna happen and that our different opinions shouldn't get in the way of our relationship, that he's voting for Trump because he thinks he can fight inflation and cares about military members. I told him that while I can list a million reasons why that isn't true, that isn't relevant to the conversation. He then said that all of his other relationships never consisted of talk about politics and that this was ridiculous. I pretty much told him that he can't have his cake and eat it. I can't date someone who associates with people who give me trouble and that this won't be sustainable. Ending is better for both of us. I realized that this conversation was going nowhere and decided to just leave. I told him to just give up on it already before leaving. He kept asking me to stay while he thought about what to say, but I didn't. I'm just done. I don't really feel sad. And see, that says a lot. I feel so relieved. I'm going to leave social media for a while and just focus on myself for a while. I'm going to therapy. I'll stick around to read your comments. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to respond though. If I go radio silent, then just take that as a sign that I am no longer on this app. Have a nice day. Honestly, to me, she dealt with that in a very respectful way. She came about it more as, this is where we differ, and that moral difference is my boundary for ending the relationship, and I will do that. And she also was able to healthily remove herself from the conversation when she felt like it wasn't heading anywhere. So I am so proud of her. I'm so glad that she feels better. And I'm so glad that she's going to focus on herself from now on. So let's read some of the relevant comments. This comment says, not the asshole. You don't break up with him because he gives you the ick. His support of a racist and homophobic convicted felon does not align with your values. It's not a quirky little thing, like disagreeing on a choice of music or what team to root for in a game. By the way, he may claim to have all these diverse friends, but I can assure you that they do not consider him their friend with views like this. Anyone in your family's opinion about your relationship does not matter here. Exactly. They aren't dating him, you are. The fact that you point out to him how you're an immigrant too and that doesn't seem to register at all to him, honey, he's in a cult. There is no saving him. OP responds, "You pretty much summed up my exact thoughts on why his gay best friend doesn't want to hang out with him anymore. I found out recently that there's a bit of a rift in their relationship and I didn't even start thinking about why until I learned more about him. Gosh, everyone's burning bridges." So remember earlier when they mentioned that he believes in reject pregnancy? Someone in the comments actually asked what that was. They said, "Can someone explain to me what a reject pregnancy is?" And then someone answered and said, "Probably the myth that a woman can reject implantation from a non-consensual encounter." I'm like, wait, people believe that? That like our vaginas can just be like, "Oh, the sperm's coming in from someone I don't like. Let me close up real quick and reject." Oh my god, that is actually, I did not know that was a thing. I did not know people believe that, and that is actually insane that he believed that. But I love the sass that all the commenters have, because someone commented right below that and said, "Ah yes, the same way we can just stop our periods whenever we want." That's yeah. Pretty much that is what they think. Like, I wish I was over exaggerating, but that is pretty much the same line of thinking. And then under that, this person says, "I remember reading a post from someone who interned for a US senator, and they wrote about how she had to explain to him that we can't just hold our periods and like pee, because he got mad that she was taking so many bathroom breaks and changing her sanitary products as an excuse to slack off. These are the people voting on reproductive rights." I'm losing brain cells. I am learning new things, but instead of gaining brain cells because of the knowledge, I'm losing brain cells. Whew, this is crazy, guys. Anyways, that is it for today for the crazy stories. But I'm glad that both OPs stood up for what they believed in. So let me know what you guys think about this. Did you learn something new? Because I sure did. And I wish I did not learn them. I could have just lived my life so peacefully not knowing this information and that it existed, because it borderline aggravates me. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you've seen this kind of relationship division in real life or experienced it yourself. And stay safe out there. Bye.